Well, that may be the end of college football as we know it. It just might be. It just could be. Only time will tell, but if you think this is the end of something, you don't know liberalism. This is the continuation of something. Greetings, my friends. It's great to have you here. Rush Limbaugh, the EIB Network. Broadcast excellence all yours for a full week. Telephone number, if you want to be on the program, 800-282-2882. And the email address, lrushmo@eibnet.com. The Ben Carson story continues to explode or percolate. Donald Trump on Saturday Night Live Saturday night, not that big a deal to a lot of people. And then we have a Republican debate coming up tomorrow night on the Fox Business Network. But what's happening on the American college campus, the vaunted academy, to me takes the top spot in the stack of stuff today. For those of you who are just now getting attuned to what's happening during the day, the University of Missouri's embattled president has resigned. His name is Tim Wolf. He just resigned because of committing the crime of being a white male. And if you dig deep into this, I first heard about this, I think it was Friday after I got home from work. I got a note from a friend of mine about this whole story and the subject line, wow, your home state's a weird place. And I said, well, I already knew that. What's this about? And that's when I started becoming familiar with the story. On campus at the University of Missouri, I did not attend, the family did, but I'm not a member of the alma mater there. Now, if you haven't been following this story, this is a social justice warriors story. Some of the students at Mizzou have been calling for the president of the university to resign. It's all an extenuation, or a continuation of what started boiling over in Ferguson, Missouri, which is 120 miles down the road, down I-70. And, of course, Ferguson had nothing to do with any of this that's happening on campus, and what's happening on campus had nothing to do with anything in Ferguson, and I wouldn't be surprised if what's happening at the University of Missouri has been imported from Ferguson in terms of leaders of the community organizers and agitators are concerned. The pressure on the university president, I guess it really began, a student began a hunger strike with a list of demands, none of them specific. I mean, if you go through the list of demands here and the complaints, you don't find anything specific. You find the major problem is that there are too many white people at this place, and they apparently are not nice enough or considerate enough to the 10% of the people there who are black, and so there has to be some changes. But don't forget, folks, this is the place. It was just a couple of short years ago, the University of Missouri got a gold star. The University of Missouri was the leading, most sensitive university in America because that's where Michael Sam went to school. Michael Sam, the first gay player to come out in advance of going into the NFL draft, picked up by the St. Louis Rams, didn't make the team, went to the practice squad at the Cowboys, didn't make the team, left to Canada, wasn't going to make the team, so quit. He's out of football for now, but at the time, the University of Missouri was heralded as a citadel of tolerance, a citadel of progressivism, a citadel of acceptance. What happened? What happened? How could the place that led the nation in tolerance and love and acceptance for gay athletes on the football team, what could have made it fall so far, so fast? Okay, back to the details. Student goes on a hunger strike after a list of demands, including that the university president quit and ride out of town. 30 black members of the Mizzou football team said that they would begin to boycott practices and games until the university president was forced out or until he resigned. The faculty then joined, and then the head football coach, Gary Pinkel, then joined, and the die was cast. Because, you see, the football program runs most major universities. And if you take the football program out and the money that it generates out, you've got huge financial problems and image. It's incalculable, the damage. The coach, I mean, he's got to go out and recruit at the end of this season. The last thing he can do is oppose his players. Of course he's got to join the players in the boycott. The faculty did not like the president to begin with before any of this started. You know why? The president, Tim Wolf, only had a bachelor's degree. He wasn't properly educated. He didn't have a postgraduate degree. He didn't have one he got from a mail order plate. He didn't have one, period. He just had a bachelor degree. Now, they've got no problem with student athletes not learning anything. The faculty at these places have no problem with student athletes barely attending class. And few of them even graduating. But when it comes to the university president, he was white and he only had a bachelor's degree. No specific complaints were actually ever cited. It was basically a list of complaints about the atmosphere on campus. The closest thing to a specific complaint that I've been able to find, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the closest thing that I've been able to find to a specific complaint is that Wolf's car, university president's car, allegedly bumped a protester last month while he was surrounded by a crowd of screaming protesters. And never mind that he apologized for that quote-unquote crime. He apologized profusely. But his car bumping one of the protesters apparently was an unacceptable, unforgivable crime against humanity. He even said he should have gotten out of the car and apologized in person, which might have just ratcheted things up even more. I have a list here of the University of Missouri student demands, and there's nothing specific in it. Let's instead look at this in a different way. And just to remind you, SB Nation, a sports website, back on February 10th, 2014, it's just a year and a half ago, Michael Sam's announcement shines an incredibly positive light on Mizzou. Yeah, just a year and a half ago. A year and a half ago, they loved Mizzou. Well, they had a star linebacker, African-American, who was gay. And everybody knew he was gay, but they kept a secret. He confided to the team. The team kept it a secret for whatever reasons, because he didn't want to come out. But the Missouri University system, the campus at Columbia, the football team was apparently so enlightened a year and a half ago that someone like Michael Sam was not only allowed to go and attend, but to prosper, succeed, excel, and be given an award. And now, well, yeah, okay, there is one other thing. Yes, that's right. It was reported in the drive-bys that some idiot made a swastika out of feces on a building, and that the president didn't do enough about that when he was told about it. So swastika feces, I don't know why that, well, I don't know what is racist about that. Swastika? I mean, I can see a lot of people being offended by it, but is it a racially motivated thing? I mean, it's no different. You know, the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers, Cam Newton, did you hear what he did yesterday? Well, they played the Packers. They played the Packers in Charlotte, and some Packers fans showed up wearing their cheese heads and Packers jerseys, and they had a banner. They had a banner that they had slung over the railing at field level. Forget exactly what it said, but it was promoting the Panthers, or the Packers. We're in Packer country here. But they weren't. They're in Charlotte. So Cam Newton says he saw it, and he went over there, and he grabbed it and tore it down. And the Packer fans thought he was coming over to talk to him and say, hey, man, good game, whatever. And he took it away, and they thought it was a joke, and he was going to be bringing their banner back. But he didn't. He said, look, last time we were in Green Bay, I didn't see anybody with a Panther sign, so I'm not going to have to look at any Packer signs here in my home stadium. This is about protecting the building or whatever he said, and they ripped it down. But the University of Missouri president did not get mad enough at the feces-laden swastika sign. Those are the two specific events that have taken place. No, it makes total sense. If you put this in the right context, it makes total sense. This is not about any specific grievance. This is just the ongoing attempt by the left to capture what they're losing in the ballot box. The Democrat Party's losing elections. Ferguson didn't turn out the way the protesters wanted it to. People have moved down the road. This is, what's really interesting about this to me, and there are many aspects of it that are interesting, is that if you look at this incident by itself, outside of context, you would believe that we still live in the 1800s, that we are still pre-Civil War, that we still have slavery, we still have blatant racism and discrimination. This country has done more to progress from those days. This country has done more to address the legitimate grievances. We have altered policy. We have had policies implemented to basically punish achievers because of their race in order to balance things out. We have lowered entry standards. We've done everything we can. Affirmative action. We've done quotas. And as you see, it's never enough because it's never really all about that. And I frankly think part of me was all weekend and this morning watching this. I know people are upset about it and wringing their hands together. But it's also happening at Yale. You know what happened at Yale? Some students were very upset by some Halloween costumes. It really bothered. The students at Yale are demanding a safe area where they can be free from having to hear anything that upsets them, including opposing political points of view. These 19 to 22-year-old children simply need to feel safe, and they don't feel safe on the campus. And the tipping point was when they saw some really scary Halloween costumes. And so a female faculty member said, well, just turn away if you don't want to look at the... And they just turn away. We're surrounded by... We can't turn away. And they surrounded the teacher and threatened the teacher, the professor, or what have you. And so Yale is caving. We heard last week about the various universities where they are setting up essentially hall monitor type people to approve or disapprove of each and every Halloween costume. And on some college campuses, we're not talking about kindergarten or grade school, we're talking about college campuses, where the students were so upset by some Halloween costumes that adult supervisors were set up to approve or disapprove various Halloween costumes so that some students wouldn't be scared and upset and offended, maybe. I think these universities, these institutions of higher propaganda, I think they are getting just what they deserve, folks. I think they are reaping what they've sown. They turned over the asylum to the inmates years ago, and the inmates have finally figured out how to blackmail them. You do it with the football program. It's going to win each and every time because these colleges cannot do without the football program. Mizzou has a game against BYU this Sunday, or this weekend, probably Saturday, over at Kansas City at Airhead Stadium. Now, I haven't had the radio on today, but I would wager that all of you listening to Sports Talk Radio this morning in and around Columbia or Kansas City or St. Louis, I would wager that virtually every host has been on the side of the players, every host, because they want the game to be played, they want to cover the game. Therefore, they're going to side with the players. Nobody's going to stand up. There was one player who stood up and said, hey, there's not unanimity on this team. There are a bunch of people here, a bunch of players that don't think this boycott ought to happen. But it was too late. The coach, he's got to go out and recruit. He can't possibly do anything but join his players in this boycott, if he wants to remain coach, if he wants them to listen to him, if he wants to have control of the team, if he wants to be able to recruit players, he's got to stand with the players that are causing the trouble here. He can't side against them. And this is what everybody knows. This is what the protesters know. It's what the striking or the threatened striking players know. But really, these institutions of higher learning are anything but that. They are institutions of higher propaganda. And I really do. I think they're getting exactly what they deserve. All of these tirades from the students, rooted in anger and fear, the threats, the demand. You know, we don't have students anymore. We have institutions of higher victimization. We are turning every student, or we are allowing students to adopt victim status as a means of getting what they want, including grades. In the list of student demands, there is this demand that the university be more accepting of marginalized students. That means two things. Of course, marginalized is a racial reference, but it also has to do with students who might be flunking out. We're supposed to overlook it. We're not supposed to punish students who are not getting good grades because it's not their fault. They're victims of a racist hierarchy and patriarchy on campus, and they're doing the best they can, and you've got to respect and understand with all the stress and all the pressure and all the racism, they're doing the best they can, and you can't flunk them. This is what the university experience has become. Threats, tirades, demands, endless parade of victims, now agitators. So I think the universities have had their hands in creating these little monsters. As far as I'm concerned, they can live with them now. This is exactly when they stopped teaching critical thought, when liberalism overcame every campus, when liberalism overwhelmed everything. It was the end of independent critical thought, and it was the beginning of you better toe the line or you're out. And this is what they are reaping now.